Boom, boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? Welcome aboard. This is yes, TJ Tarai Jack. And welcome aboard. If it is your first time, where have you been? If it is the second time, welcome back. Well, today, like it is any other day, I bring you successful friends of M5. And you are tuning in to M5 Successful Friends, where we talk about anything and everything about properties. And we kind of like reach out to people who are killing it in their own space, in their own right. And we celebrate untold stories. And we talk about these stories on here. Not only do we want to just talk about it to feel good, to get you inspired, and for both of us to get educated. It is my pleasure today to welcome Lebo and Neo, and they are from Nong Wealth. Gentlemen, how's it going? Welcome aboard.
No, man, we awesome. I like how I forgot to tell you before that I like how you start your show. Boom, boom, boom. that's a really nice way to actually start off.
Yeah.
Great, man. We're awesome. Thanks for the warm welcome.
Okay, awesome stuff. So for the audience, right, who is Neo and who is Lebo? So that our audience can identify who is who. Because I've introduced you guys on who is Lebo and who is Neo. I understand that you guys, both of you are brothers, but who's Lebo, who's Neo?
Okay. Well, I'm Neo, and then this is Lebo. I'm the youngest guy. Although I think that we're on the same age, but I'm the youngest one.
Okay, cool. So I always tease my brother. So I am in a family. So my family structure, I am the only child, right?
Okay.
And I speak about this in my book. I am the only child because my father. So when my mom was pregnant, so my father kind of like left. Was my mom was pregnant, and then when eventually my mom gave birth to me, she kind of like abandoned me, and then she left, right? So I am the only child. However, I then went on to actually realize that my mom, she's got other kids, right? My biological mother, and my father has other kids. So I've got plenty of half brothers and sisters. And some of them have become friends of mine, close friends, and some I know of them, but I don't know them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So some of my closer brother, I always tease them to say, hey, you've got the looks, I've got the brains. Between the two of you, who's got the looks and who's got the brains?
You know, it's quite an interesting relationship. You know how a puzzle actually comes together. That's how I view my relationship with Lebo. Like I acknowledge my weakness, and then he already knows my weakness. I acknowledge his weaknesses, and he knows his weaknesses. So it came together whereby he's good with something and that I'm not so good at. However, in the long run, it actually makes sense that all these puzzles, all these dots connect at the end of the day. So
Neo is giving us a political answer. Let's go to Lebo.
Yeah. He's very political. So in terms of who has the looks, I think we are good looking in our own right.
Oh.
In our own right.
Good.
So it's just a thing of complementing each other. That when sometimes he has the brain, and then sometimes I feel like, why didn't I think of that first? Then sometimes it would be me, the one that's actually thinking about stuff, and then he's the one that's like, why didn't I think of that? So it's just about complementing each other and actually moving forward with that. So if I can just give you a practical example, right? For instance, if we're in a meeting with somebody, Lebza, he's more of the analytical guy. He'll analyze everything that's happening. And I'm more of the opener. So I'll open up, and then the person opens up, and then immediately after the meeting, we'll be like, what did you think about it? Because and then that's when we sit together. Hence, we're saying that it's more of a partnership going on.
Good.
So we'll just let you in on a bit of something that we actually do. While he's busy talking and getting someone to warm up, I'm the one that's checking the person out there, okay? Let's look at their characteristics. What's going on here?
Is this guy legit?
Yes.
All right, good. So guys, welcome on board. And I think it is my really pleasure to guys have you here. And you know, I've been checking you guys out and seeing some of the stuff that you've been doing. I'm highly impressed with what you guys are doing. But where are you from, and where does this bag of property bite you? I mean, you guys now have a company called Nong Wealth, and you look very young to me. Where are you guys from, and how did you get this bag from? Let's start with Lebo this time.
Okay, we from Soweto, and then the bug that we got from property is that in 2012, I think I was doing grade 11. I read the book of the person that actually owns that cash flow game. So now I read the famous book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it actually inspired me. It gave me a different look on how life or money should be actually seen, with the whole monopoly things and stuff like that. So now, looking at that, I told our parents that I don't think I'll be actually working for someone after school. So now, you know how the saying goes that you need to actually go study. After studying, you need to actually get a job, and then only you can actually go into property. Because now the main thing behind property is that you need to have a whole lot of money to actually start in property. So now, what then happened is that
I think that's a myth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the myths that actually going around. So now, when we got to varsity, I think it was all about just getting everything together, because he talks about actually, I think one of his lessons that the rich don't actually work for money. So now what I had to actually discover is that how are we actually going to make money without actually going to work, right? So now in varsity, I was actually looking at the interviews that he had, Robert Kiyosaki, and then also looking at guys like Grant Cardone, and the list goes on, man. The list goes on. So now I was actually trying to see how can we actually go into property without looking at where we are in that current situation. So now, at my honest level, I'll tell you now that, man, you have to quit your internship. You have to quit your internship, and let's do it right now, man. Because if we don't do it right now, we might lose the passion and the grind that we actually have right now. So I think that's where we actually started. That's where everything started. And good news is that he left his internship.
Okay. Neo, is that good news or bad news?
No, he didn't give you the full story. He called me. He was at the property seminar. So that was he likes investing in himself. We like investing in ourselves. So he's at the property seminar, and I'm earning 5,000 at that point. He's like, "Neo, dude, there's this property seminar, and I'm pulling the trigger. They want 5,000." And I'm like, "Man, that's my whole month's salary. It can't be. Can you negotiate and maybe 1,000, and then we can say that we're students or something?" He was like, "We can't look back. We're always talking about investing in ourselves." So I had to put my money where my mouth is, and I was like, "Okay, man, let's go for it." And can you imagine the stress that it gave our parents? Because our mother, like the one guy's like, "Mommy, I'm not working after here," and then I'm like, "Hey, I don't think I'll work." After so much money she put in, however, now she can realize the bigger goal, and it is with property. We're so thankful for the support.
Right. So you started off actually. The book Rich Dad, and Neo, have you read the book?
In one of our YouTube videos where we talk about books, property books, I did confess, I made a confess that he was more of the reader, and I would take whatever that he read and then put more charisma and tell people about it. And then I saw that it needs to come. I saw that it needs to come to an end. I saw that it needs to come to an end, because when we both talk about, if we can both read something at different levels where we are, he can bring in something that I didn't see. For instance, if I can tell you about Think and Grow Rich, every time we read that book, you find a different meaning. So the more you actually engage with that, the more you get. So I was robbing myself. So now I am.
Nice. Well done. Well done.
He's been converted.
He's been converted, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you for raising the continuing preaching there, so that we can convert more people. Right. So you guys are in Soweto, and do you just work in Soweto, or you work in the surrounding area? I mean, Nong Wealth, what do you guys do?
With what Nong Wealth does? I mean, at first it was the thing of, is it going to be Soweto or not? However, we saw that if we get a good deal somewhere elsewhere, and it meets our criteria and it meets our rules of engagement, I don't see a reason why we should hesitate to. It's not like we are focused in one area. So if we do get a deal and it ticks all the boxes of our criteria, then we do.
I know as someone that will actually teach someone to actually go into property is that you have to study the market. So now when studying the market, you have to have that balance between studying the market and the job that you have right now. So now you don't have that time to actually go into it. So now, because that we are full-time property investors, we have the time to actually study different markets. So that allows us to go into different markets at different times then.
Okay. Neo, you speak about criterias of, when you're going into a deal. What are the kind of like top 3 or top 5 criterias for you guys, for Nong Wealth? If you guys are to go into a deal, what are those kind of like basic stuff that you like say, if it ticks this, it's a good deal?
Sure. I mean, it depends with the strategy that we're using. If it will, because I'm sure you know, and your clientele knows that there's different strategies. So now with all these different strategies, we have a criteria that's linked to the strategy. For instance, if I should mention one of the strategies, if you're buying it as a business, if I'm going to be buying a house that's fully occupied as rental, and then they're also selling it with the NFSAS, I know that I'm buying it as a business, so I need to be careful on my ROI. Does it meet the ROI that I'm looking for? Because we've seen, even with our interaction with our network, that so many people jump into deals whereby we know that the olden days, okay, we had a conversation with our uncle. He's like, gents, if you just put in a good deposit, you're sorted. And that's how we actually learned that it doesn't operate that way. So with the criteria is that if you're buying it as a business, we need to make sure it meets our ROI. And then we need to do due diligence. Due diligence is another very important thing.
Neo, what do you mean by ROI? What do you mean by that?
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry for that. I was taken in, guys. I need to accommodate everybody. With ROI, we're referring to return on investment. So we want to know that if I'm putting in so much, how much am I actually getting back?
Because you do not want money making babies out of this.
That's it. That's it. We do not want a situation whereby you'll be cash flowing negative. Cash flowing negative is when we buy a property and then we're paying rent the whole time. However, at the end of the month, I'm not getting the money back. I'm only going to start making a profit after a couple of years. And if you're running it as a business, you know that it should cash flow from month 1. That's another criteria that we strict on. If we're buying it as rental, it needs to cash flow from day 1. Or however, if it's flip, you already know that you're looking at 6 months. So hence we strict on criteria.
I think just to add on what Neo had just said, that I'm a numbers guy. I'm an analytical guy. So now the thing that actually makes sense to me before actually going into any deal is the numbers. So if you can convince me with the numbers that this property actually makes sense in terms of the ROI that Neo had actually spoken about, that's the first thing that I actually look at. How is my ROI, and do the numbers actually make sense? Because now you find with sometimes the wholesaler, the sourcing guys, is that they actually draw up a whole lot of numbers, and then when you actually ask them where did they get that number, they don't know. So now the number one thing that I actually look at is the numbers. Do the numbers actually make sense? Then the second thing is that how close is it to your mall? Right. Okay. So now your amenities, how close is it to that? Because now what we actually seeing is that people would actually like a close proximity to actually go to the shopping center.
Right.
Or depending on the strategy that Neo also talked about, is that how close is, if you're looking at a student accommodation, how close is it to the university? And if it's far, would that actually impact, how would that impact you in terms of you actually having a car to actually transport the students from the property to the university and back? How? So now this all goes back to the numbers.
Yeah.
Is everything factored in your numbers?
Yeah. So you're very right around that. So for instance, in properties that I buy on the lower LSM, people that are just starting off to work, or people that are employed on the lower end, the wage earners and things like that. For us, whenever we are accommodating or giving affordable housing for such kind of people, my criteria is how close am I from a taxi rank? Okay. How close am I from a Ria Vaya bus? How close? So transport is a necessity, because I want that CC to kind of like jump off the taxi, or that mama to jump off the taxi with her checkers and just walk like 2 minutes and she's at home. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then there is value that I've just created there for her. So you know, it's also one of my criteria that I'm always looking at to say, if I'm doing a low end affordable housing in this particular area, how far am I from a shop? You know, how far am I from public transport so that people can jump into it? But gents, before we go into the business, and I know we've already started talking about business, I want to jump back to Lebo and Neo as individuals. You guys are brothers, you're working well, you've got a business. It's not a lot of brothers that work together today, right? We have seen, like back in the days, there was so many brothers that you'd see a whole lot of placards. If you walk around, so and so brothers, you know. We have seen lots of big brands that have been of brothers, but of late, there are not so many brothers that are working together. And you guys here, you've actually now kind of like resonated something or intrigued something in me, where I'm saying brothers coming together and working together. You've been running now for a bit. How do you guys work that out?
We didn't hear that.
Okay.
I didn't get that. I think the line was a bit bad.
All right. So I'll take that again. So the
Yes,
question
from the
was around you know, you guys are working together as brothers. How best
Yes.
how best have you guys done that? You know, what kind of struggles do you guys have, or should I say, what are the disadvantages and advantages of working as brothers? Yeah.
I think let me go to the disadvantages, since I actually have numbers. So now the part that is a disadvantage is that we can't actually go into a deal whereby it would be cash flowing 500 rand. Because now, if it was 500 now for now only, that would have been awesome for him. But now, since it's 500 for both of us, we need to divide that to two, and it becomes 250, 250. So now that's already a problem there. We can't live off that 250. That's the first problem that we actually encountered. But otherwise, it's just getting to understand each other.
Right.
When Neo has his days, I have to give him space, and I have to know how to actually deal with him, right, when he has his days. So now I think just working together, it's just getting that clear understanding between each other. And also talk about is that we run property as a business, so there's no emotions attached. So now we need to have a watertight contract between us, even though we are brothers. I mean, sometimes you might take it for granted that we are brothers, we won't fight, and we'll be brothers for the rest of our lives, right? But now, if you have a watertight contract between us, which is drafted by a conveyancer, I think that is something that actually people have to look actually doing business with the family. It could be a brother or a sister, maybe siblings, or between yourself and a cousin. Just have that watertight proof contract between the two of you on how you're going to split your profits and what happens if something goes bad.
So, I mean, you're brothers, you're brother and brother, right? And I mean, why would you want to have a contract? Someone would ask that question. Maybe Neo, you can jump on to answer that one.
We got some. We always talk about having a power team, because what we did see is that we want to do this thing so right. We want to disrupt the market in a right way. So that's when we got advice from experts. So what we got there is that if so we're already thinking in the future, if I were to pass on, if I have a wife, my wife cannot take over the 50%, because our relationship is on another level whereby we can run numbers together, we can take a decision, both of us, without being emotional. So now, if my wife was to come through, or my kid was to come through, and then not understanding the crux of the businesses, that's where we can actually go wrong. Because what we want to do, as I said, we do not just want to disrupt the market, to give value to the people and leave this legacy for our kids. So if we want to do it the right way, we have to plan even now by getting that power team and actually getting people who we can stand on that can give us that advice.
Good, well said. I think you know what you've just said there, Neo. For me, it's more around the fact that Lebo is bringing in a particular value into the business. So there is something that is bringing onto the table, and that's why you guys are both partners, and that's the basics of partnership. Now that you're married and you're gone, yes, your wife can come in and replace from a shareholding perspective, but she cannot provide the partnership that Lebo was providing. Now all of a sudden you've got another new partner, but this partner is dead weight, right? There's no value that they're providing, and yet they want income. You know, so I am totally
apologies to my future wife. Dead weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. So I want to jump into the next question there, right? You guys, you've been at it now for a bit, and I want to jump in a particular deal, right? And I don't know who wants to start, because I'm sure you guys, you've done quite a few deals. We have spoken about, there was one flip that kind of like went south, and there was another one that did very well. And maybe let's start off with Lebo, in terms of, is there a particular deal, Lebo, that you want to talk to us about? How did you get in? How did you buy it? And at the end of it, did it work? Did it not work? And what were some of the lessons that you got out of it?
I think the one that I'd actually like to talk about is the deal that went south, because sometimes, most of the time, you hear that you learn from the things that actually went south. So now, when we started our property journey, is that we had this deal whereby, you know, when you're naive and you still want to just buy a property, and then you don't have the relevant information, anyone can just sell you anything. So now we went to this development guys, and then they said that you won't pay transfer fees because this is a new house. So now, with that being said, you take out a loan, and then you only went to that development. You only find out that they haven't tiled the place. You have to repaint the whole house, because once everybody tiles and put in the carpets, they're going to actually cause problems to your paint around the house. So now you have to also factor that in, of which we didn't factor in. But now, once we started renting it out, we saw that we were at cash flow negative.
Okay.
Right.
So where was this? Where was this deal, Lebo? What area is it?
It was in. Can I say the area, because it's going to expose the guy there?
Okay, let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
So now, but it's around Johannesburg. It's
sure.
Around Johannesburg. So now what happened is that that happened, and then when we were looking at our rental that we actually were looking at, it was at cash flow negative. So now, you know, when a house is at cash flow negative, you only have two options. It's either you're going to sell it, or you're going to...
Lebo, why do you say you are cash flow negative? Why don't you say that you are making a loss?
I was making a loss. I think it's harder saying that. It's harder saying that. It's hard.
Sure.
It's harder saying that. So now, when you're making a loss, it's either you're going to have two options. It's either you're going to sell the house, or you're going to actually fund that property for the rest of that 20 years that you're looking at.
Sure.
Right. So now, I see this still happens with a lot of people that actually have acquired property. When you tell them that you're on cash flow negative, or you're making a loss, I think I should start using that. You're making a loss. When you're making a loss, it's a bit emotional for you to actually accept, I made a loss and I just have to sell it and find another deal that will actually give me profit. Right. So now what happened there is that we sold that house, and then we went on to flip a property. I think Noah will then talk about the flip strategy that we used.
Okay, so let's speak about
Now, with the
this
flip side, we did say that.
Lebo, I think let's speak about this particular property here, right? So you
Yes.
bought it, it was a development off plan, and you went into it thinking that you could make some profit out of it, and you are now making a loss, you know. So what was the learning for you at that time? I mean, what are the three things that maybe that we can learn from that process? Being naive there, you mentioned also. But, you know, in this particular deal, what did you learn?
I think the first thing that I learned was to educate myself.
Sure.
So now before I actually do anything, this actually trickled down to every part of my life. Before I actually do anything, I need to learn what it is about. So now you find that on the net especially, there's a lot of people that say that you can make money fast, but now they don't go deeper into the content that you're actually looking at. So now I think the first part was the learning part. How can I actually learn on how to actually build my property portfolio in a way whereby I can actually get money into my business, right? So that was the first part that I actually learned.
Yeah.
The second part that I actually learned is that I need to surround myself with a power team. I need to surround myself with a power team. So now, just a quick example on that. When you're looking at property, I'm sure you can also attest to this. A good deal doesn't really last that long in the market. So now, for a property investor, what you're actually going to thrive on is that how fast can you actually close a deal?
Yeah.
Right? So now, starting off, what we do, I think even in the long run, what we'll actually be using is that we'll be using credit. So now if you're going to be using credit with a banking institution, right? The thing that will actually make your credit go faster would be your bond originator. How fast can your bond originator actually get you the results? So now what happened is that one of the guys that we actually referred our bond originator to is that the bond originator took 2 to 3 days to actually get you the results. So now the bond originator that we use, I mean, 4 hours, within 4 hours, you could get the results that you're actually looking for if everything is on point that she actually asked you.
Okay, so preparation is key there for all of your paperwork, for you to be able to close the deal.
Yes.
Okay.
Then the last lesson that I actually learned was that speed. You always need to be fast in attacking.
Yeah. So Neo, how do you balance speed and due diligence? You know, you spoke about due diligence earlier on, because when you're doing due diligence on a particular property, sometimes you want to utilize external resources to come and do some due diligence, and you are at their mercy in terms of their work pipeline. And then on your side, you have this deal, you need to close this deal. How do you balance that?
Okay. In terms of how do you balance, I think if we can just, with properties that everything is linked, I'm going to answer that with what Lebo mentioned, is that once you get a power team on your side, let me further elaborate how we're going to get a power team. For instance, we have a network, we're all looking for properties. So if it's the more of us, like even with me and Lebo, more of us, we're spending more time on Property 24, we have more networks with estate agents, and then what they will do, they're experts in that field. So if they have a deal, they will contact us. Already, we also have a network with people that actually fix construction guys. So what happens is that we know we have a good network with them. So what will happen is as soon as we hear that there's a good deal, we call up this guy, and this guy is he knows that we work good with him. He will actually drop things and he'll come, let's go check it, and then let's do our due diligence as soon as possible. So then we'll view that property within that day. And before we even get to that, we have to have an agreement with that estate agent that is this the price that you will take? If the estate agent agrees and we ran the numbers thoroughly, so then there's no turning back. As Lebza did mention with speed, I think you did mention, I like what he said with you know this very well with regards to being fast. I mean, if you have to be elected as one of the top investors, you know that speed due diligence is very important. So I'm sure
that's what makes
we can relate on that note. Yes.
Yeah.
I think just to add on what Neo was saying is that a lot of people want to drag the process. So if you can just, the sooner you can actually close the deal, the better for you. So now looking at your some other property investor, when you ask them that, okay, how long, when do you want to actually view the property?
Yeah.
They'll tell you that, no, let's do it next week. Let's do it. By the time they want to go view the property is already sold. So now on that one, if we do have a deal right now today and we already ran the numbers, the question to the estate agent is then, how soon can you actually go to view the property? If it has to be now, and then there's nothing that we're actually doing right now in terms of property, we can actually go to the viewing right now. So I think it's all now.
Yeah, I like the now. I like the emphasis on now. So let me guys share with you guys a story that happened to me recently this week. And it's a property that I went to see just as lockdown opened, right? And this property, the numbers were working for me at 3 million, right? It's a small blocks of flats. There's maybe about 12 units all in all. And the guy, they wanted 4 million for it, and we negotiated hard, and we got around about 4 million, down to 3 million on it. I went home, and as I was going home, I was like, I need to do the numbers, because I've done the numbers very quickly. In the evening, my estate agent sent me a text to say, TJ, the deal is gone. Someone put in an offer for 2.5.
Sure.
Same day.
No,
I was happy with it, guys. It's not even
that must suck.
It happens. It happens. We fully agree with it. I mean, Lebs, I can also tell you a story. It happened this week. On Sunday, we have in our network, there's a lady who joined our group, and she's like, guys, it's Sunday, must we call? We were like, we called and they took it. You can't say it's Sunday. We already have results. So with property, it's that thing of not sleeping.
Somebody closed at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. So you can only imagine how fast the market is actually reacting to good deals right now.
Correct. Yeah. Neo, you've got a deal that you wanted to share with us, something that you guys went into. Just indicate to us, how did you get into the deal, and you guys, what strategy did you guys use? Where is the deal right now? Did you sell it? Is it a buy to let? And what was the lessons there?
The second deal, we're like, okay, we tried rental, and then we still want to go with rental, because at the end of the day, we did say we want to build a legacy, and we know it's through rental. So we're like, let's try flip. And then, however, before this, that's when we got the power team and we got the knowledge. So at least with this one, we knew that we have to get it below market value at 70%, anything below 70%. So fortunately, with this deal is that we made calls. We wrote down like 30 names of estate agents, and we're like, we're going to get a deal today. Started calling everybody. Fortunately, somebody called and we're like, gents, I've got something on my table. How about we go view it tomorrow? So we're like, no, let's go for it. And then we went there. It was about more than 70. We got it at 60%.
Yeah.
Got it at 60%. And then we went with our guy who's going to tell us what's wrong and what's not right. So he did the due diligence. We went there prepared. We also went there with a pen. And then I'm not advocating this for everybody that you go there with a pen and sign immediately. And then when something goes wrong, you say it's me. I went with the power team. We did the numbers. And then we saw that it was good. It was a good deal, way below market. And then we went for it, man. I mean, the result was good. However, we saw with capital gains only after that, with tax, capital gain tax, that's when we did see, hence a lot of people are moving towards rental. And the lesson that we learned, that even though it was good, however, the valuable lesson that we learned is that, with distressed properties, you need to know, is the seller motivated to sell or not? Okay. This is what a lot of people don't speak about. Because now you'll find that it's distressed, it's below market value, the numbers make sense, everything sounds good. However, if the seller's not motivated, for instance, with us, it was a late estate. So we want to understand that she's in a situation, she didn't want to sell that property. However, now because we went all in this deal, so now we're living on credit. It was like, hey, we need to move into this deal and make money out of it as soon as possible. So there were delay tactics, and it took more than 7 months to 8 months to get the transfer done. It was a painful experience. However, we do share it with people that, guys, you need to know what you're going into for. For instance, next time now when we go into the deal, what we learn from it is that we should rather talk about if, like when we get the purchase, it shouldn't be that we get in the offer to purchase and then we're just going to sign. We should look into it deep and then also write our conditions that from your side, you need to have submitted everything within 3 months, then we'll go along with this deal because we are doing this full time. We can't afford to sit for 7 months flipping.
Yeah.
Before the property.
I want to speak about a couple of things there, Neo, on your particular deal. The fact that you highlighted capital gains tax, it kind of like insinuate that maybe you're doing it in your personal capacity. When you guys now you run a company, Nong Wealth.
Yes.
What impact does it have, right? And neither am I saying that I'm putting you on the spot here to answer tax practitioners' questions, but because you highlighted it, I want for you to kind of like walk through your lessons learned there when you were doing that deal. It was a flip, so there is a capital tax. But if you are bringing in a company, for me, I generally am not worried about that. Because I know I can weave it through within my expenses and things like that. Sure. But if I'm doing it as an individual, there I know that I'm a little bit worried. What was your lesson learned around tax implications, especially when you're doing a
flip? As I did mention that it's going to be too much if you compare it to. However, if you did have that information beforehand, it's not going to be a surprise. Now, if you didn't have that information beforehand and you didn't factor it in your numbers, we're always talking about numbers, they're very important. That's when it's going to hit you below the belt, because what's going to happen, especially with a lot of people, I'm going to get money out of the deal and then have this large sum of money, say 150,000, and then spend it on something else, only to find out when I'm going to report to SARS, it's going to become a problem because I wouldn't get money. However, now if you're going to factor it, okay, this is what I'm doing. I know that I need to pay so much of tax. It's going to be that thing of, okay, I knew that I need to pay this as tax. However, as we did mention that in order to protect ourselves, we also want to move into rental. Now, the question was, how are we going to move into rental? I think Lebo did mention this, that we don't want a house whereby we're going to get 500 because this is our business. It should be an amount whereby it can sustain us on a daily basis. It can sustain us from month to month. So we need to look at that good deal. So right now we got advice and we are focusing on actually increasing our credit. I mean, working on credit is something beautiful. This is what I also talk with the network. Working with credit, you learn how to maximize your returns. I think if we had so much money, it would be like we just buy. This is what we see with a lot of people. You buy a property and you're not really interested in the numbers. What you're looking at is the money that you're going to get at the end of the transaction.
And the title that I own a property.
And the title that I own a property.
Don't mention now Lebo. Yeah.
But now we're forced to actually max out these returns that we get. And we're forced to look at this credit and say, how can we build it? How can we stretch it to a legacy?
Yeah. I like that. I like that. That is so much power. Lebo, I'm gonna come to you now. And thanks, Neo, on that. Lebo, from grade 11, you knew that you don't want to work for any employer. The book Rich Dad taught you a little bit more. You are now in this training seminar. You call your brother and you said, we have to do this, and you've done it. To me, you are driven. You are hungry. You are influential because you've influenced Neo, right? And together, the two of you are grinding, right? What are the benefits? So my first question is, have you ever worked for anyone before? Have you ever worked in anywhere?
Worked, it depends on your definition of work, right? I was a tutor. So now I was a tutor. I was a math literacy tutor, right? I actually said just now when we actually cut off is that right now I am working. I'm working for Nong Wealth. That is my line of work. I think I didn't actually mention that because it doesn't really feel like I'm working. It feels like I'm doing like that. Yeah.
It's something that you love, and it's your everyday, it's your passion. And Nong Wealth, I mean, this is what you guys are putting together, and it's working for you. So well done to you guys. And Neo, to you, in terms of the benefits that you have now started seeing property giving you, what are some of those benefits that you're seeing that are coming up now whilst you guys are on this journey?
Honestly speaking, it's quite interesting, as we did want a different angle from just being a property investor. We wanted something legit, something whereby we're going to reach out to people, something that we can have a network and see the fruits that we saw in some other people's lives. We have been interacting with people that are twice our age, but then the respect that you get for the genuine relations that you get from these people, it's quite overwhelming, because that's when you can see people are actually listening to you and they can resonate with whatever that you're saying. Because at the end of the day, with property, how we saw property is that we do not just want to become investors, drive the fanciest car and go back home and show them how well you did. However, it must be that thing, you know what, I've actually impacted so many people, and so many people can impact more people. It's more of how we see properties, that we see it as a relay. I need to pass whatever I have to somebody else, and that person needs to pass it to somebody else again. So that's yeah.
I'm saying that's deep. Well done.
He's a deep guy.
Yeah.
He's a deep guy.
Yeah. Lebo, in closing, is there 2 tips that you can give to anyone who's starting off, and you say you can make money in property, and you have said it earlier on in one of your deals, you guys lost money? And by the way, well done in sharing that story, because a lot of people don't want to share the stories of when they lost money. And I am of the view, I want to share both sides of the story. I want to share the ugly, the truth, and the good and the bad, because that's the reality of it. But Lebo, I want to touch on to say, do you have any 2 points that you can say to someone who's starting off? These are the 2 basic things that you need to start doing before you jump into property.
The first one that I'd actually like to point out is that get educated on property. And now, getting educated, I think this is one of your best books, is that you can't be educated by a fake teacher. You need to get a teacher that will actually teach you something that they are doing.
Come on.
That's the first thing that I would like to actually point out.
Okay.
Get educated. Get educated on property. Right. Know what you're actually putting yourself into. Because now, sometimes, especially on YouTube, you find that people say that in 1 month, man, I made 100,000, right? So now, that will depend on what strategy are they using, how are they actually going about investing in property, right? Mm-hmm. We need to ask the relevant questions to the people who are actually teaching us. That's the first I would like to actually point out, is that get educated.
Lebo, then the second you mentioned something, before you jump on to your second one, you mentioned something that's key there, that there are fake teachers out there, and this is the reason why I actually started teaching as well, because I'm an active investor. I'm investing every day, right? But there's people there that have done like one deal, and this was like 5-10 years ago, and it's the only thing that they've ever done. But they're going out there and teaching about a whole lot of other things, right? And or there is someone out there, they've learned this from school, and they were being taught with a tutor who has never done business before, and now they're carrying on the baton to teach someone else. And like there, I'm still of the view that's from a fake perspective. get someone who is doing it, right? Because there's so much value in learning there. But I'm going to stop there so that you can give us the second point.
Okay, just to add on a bit on that first part, right? What we like to see on social media is that we like to see flashy stuff. We like to see the lifestyle that this person is actually living. So now, the thing that we actually got when we started is that, why don't you guys rent a nice car and then make a video from that, then get subscribers. But now we were of the point that we want to give value to people, right? Renting that nice car to actually show people that, yeah, I have money and I've made it. It doesn't actually give value to the person that's actually watching. Yes, it will give them that stimulation that, oh, this guy has actually pushed, but it doesn't give them real value, right? Then we're moving on to the second one, that the second thing that I would actually like to leave the viewers with, right, is the power team. Surround yourself with the best. There's no other way of putting it. Surround surround yourself, right? And then one thing that a lot of people like to do is that they like to pay the least amount of money, and then they suffer in terms of the quality, right? Don't find yourself in that trap. Don't find yourself in that trap. I'd rather pay a once-off premium and then get my job right, other than paying small bits, but now not seeing the long run. Because now what a lot of people like to do is that they like to skip the conveyancer part. If I can just get the cheapest person to actually draft me a contract, or maybe even download it online, then I've saved myself that money. But now, when you get a tenant that's a lawyer and they know their stuff, you have a huge problem. You're sitting with a huge problem. So those are the two things that I'd like to leave the viewers with.
Well done. Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. And this is Lebo and Neo from Nong Wealth. And so much valuable information. But boys, we're going to go through into our second section of, or should I say our last section of the interview, where we ask you a question, and in a second, you just need to respond. All right? And the first question that I'm going to ask Neo is, Neo, what's your favorite business book? I should have asked Lebo this question.
No, first favorite business book must be The Richest Man in Babylon.
Richest Man in Babylon. Good. And Lebo, what's your on a chilled day? Where can one find you?
In my room.
In your room.
Nong Wealth.
Analyzing.
Working. Busy with Nong Wealth. Analyzing. That's the thing. That's where people can.
Okay. Good. Neo, what's your favorite quote?
1 second, man. You have 1 second. Come on. Don't ruin things, man.
Looks like Neo doesn't have.
That don't caught me off guard, you know.
Okay, we'll move on to Lebo. Lebo, do you have what does success look like to you?
Success is impacting a lot of people. Just having an impact on a lot of people, changing people's lives. That's what success looks like to me. It's not having the flashy cars. Yes, we want them, but now success actually means changing someone's life and moving them from a point whereby they were on survival mode to know that they can actually be comfortable now.
Come on. Right. Neo, your last question is, if you had to become any businessman, who would you be?
We're talking about this. I would become me. I don't want to lie. Reason why I would become who I am right now. I'm experienced, as we told you about our experience right now. We're learning from the ground. You're learning from failure. You're learning from all these great people. And I can, for instance, if I should name a few, you're taking stuff from Warren Buffett. You're taking stuff from Petrus Motsepe. We're taking stuff from you. I'm taking stuff from Lebo. I'm taking stuff from everybody to become who I am today, and to generation to become them, to hold on to their values. So I'll become me.
I like that. I like that. And this question is going to go to both of you. And the question is, now you're down and out. Everything else that you guys are wanting to do is done. Hopefully you get to 90 years. And at 90, who do you want to spend time with on that birthday of your 90th? We start with the elders first. Neo.
Honestly speaking, it would be family, because we've learned something that with property, especially how we are building it, we're spending so much time with property that it's more straight off that even though I want to spend so much time with family. However, right now I'm not spending so much time, so it would be family. It would be family for me.
And Lebo?
I think it would be the same one, family. Please don't say that I stole it from the elder. I think this was something that was instilled with us. So, for example, in our family, what happens is that we get together a lot of times.
Sure.
So now, when everybody's not working, we actually get together and have lunch. So now that was something that was instilled in us from a young age. So now, right now, what we do is that we really value family time. So I think on my 90th birthday, man, I'd just be with my family. And I'm going to get to that 90. I'll get to that 90. And then we'll archive this video and say we were at 90 now.
You'll account.
So boys, I want to ask you the last question. And this question, I think it's still on a personal note, on how you view it. And this question is really around your family with your mother, because both of you are not married, and you are grinding, and it's about your mother. And I sense from our conversations offline, online, is that your mother plays a pivotal role in your guys' life, right? When you guys started, so now I'm going to start with you to say, how did your mother see and how did she receive you guys, Neo, you leaving your job, Lebo not wanting to go to work, and starting this Nong Wealth? What was her view? Because I look like my mother, like when I said to her that I'm not working, she's like, what do you mean? You've got a family. I know how she reacted. But let's hear from your perspective, Neo, and I'm gonna come to Lebo to talk about how does she see it now?
Honestly speaking, it's a tough question, because you look at the history and how our parents grew up. It was a must that they need to go to work. So the only income they know is of working for somebody else.
Sure.
So I mean, we are young. My mother, she works at Truett's. She spent her last cent taking us to university until honors level, both of us, with her last cent.
Right.
So she was of that note that now I'm going to reap the rewards from whatever that I planted in terms of them working. So it took her back so much, because they even held us a family meeting. Because he's the youngest one and he's the naughty one, he recorded it. We'll play it one day for you. They made a family. He was recording while I was answering.
Yeah.
So there was a family meeting, and they were like, boys, what are you on about? What are you on about? And all we just asked for one thing, is that please give us time.
Yeah.
And then it was so great that she experienced one of our meetings with the network, and she could hear how much value we're giving, because one of the guys in our network is an engineer. So he was like, guys, you're speaking to somebody who's about 40-something years old, and you're inspiring, and this person is telling you, because the last question is that, what value did we bring to you? And the guy poured his heart out. And then our mother and granddad captured that moment. So they were like, there must be something there. We might not see it, but what we can do is trust you guys. So it's a beautiful trip.
Yeah. So I think all of this has always been trying to create passive income for yourselves in the business, cash flowing, and creating that legacy that you guys are chasing for. Yeah, I applaud you guys to start at a young age. I applaud you for challenging the normal, the status quo. I waited a little bit later in my life to actually challenge it. But yeah, Lebo, how do you see your mother now, or how does she view your guys' journey now? Because my mom these days, she's my frontline cheerleader.
I think right now my mother, she's a proud woman of the two boys that she actually brought up. Because now the last time I think there was a video that is actually doing quite well on our YouTube channel,
Sure.
right? She's the one that was actually advocating for people to. She's the one that was advocating for people to actually watch that video and actually comment on the comment section. So now she was calling the whole family and telling them that comment and like and also view there. So now I think just looking at that, and just for just a second forgetting about the money side and actually what money can do. You can see in how she actually talks about us. Now she has pride. Remember at that point whereby we said we're not working, we hadn't had a deal. So now every time when her friends, sometimes especially with the older people, is that they like comparing their kids with other kids.
Sure.
So now what would happen is that she would get to work, and then remember when we were in honors, she was telling everybody that my boys are in honors, right? But now after that, it was a question that, okay, what do I tell people right now? Because these guys aren't actually working. They aren't actually doing anything. In her eyes, we're not doing anything, right? So now that was the question. But now you can see how she talks actually about what we're actually doing. She's a proud woman.
Boom. That's it, boys. Thanks a lot for sharing your story. It's an amazing story. All of it, all just trying to build a legacy for your guys' selves, creating cash flow on your guys' business. I wish you all the luck and to your success in Nong Wealth, in making sure that you generate cash flow, passive income for yourselves, and for the legacy of your future wives that we have apologized for on this, on jumping into this relationship that we've got. But over and above that, well done, boys. Keep on grinding. From my side, it's been great having you around. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right. This is Lebo and Neo from Nong Wealth. Boom, you heard it right. This is something that we try to do all the time. M5 Successful Friends, and you heard it right. These guys are killing it. They've told us both sides of the story of how you can do it, lose money, how you can do it and get some money, and the nuggets that they have shared with us. So if there is any comments that you would like to drop them in the comment section. Let's understand what you are trying to do, how you're failing to do it, or if you've gotten any value in this video, what value was that? For myself, TJ, Tarai Jack, it's been great. We'll speak to you again. God bless. Cheers. Bye.